Good morning. Right, buttons click. Good morning, good morning. Welcome to Wednesday, halfway through the week. It's supposed to be the most productive day of the week, Wednesday, just so you know. Just in case you're feeling extra super productive, it's because it's a Wednesday. It is grey, bit grey and overcast, few little rain clouds out there. I'm going to be really old and say the garden appreciated the rain last night. As always, do please pop a hello in the comments if you are watching. Good morning, little Miss Nemo. Good morning, Sasha. Oh, we've got the YouTube crowd in. Good morning, welcome. Good morning, Lucy. Welcome to Wednesday. Interesting subject today. Darker subject, perhaps. I don't know. Depends how you view it. We'll see. Hopefully everyone will share their comments and their thoughts on it. It'll be interesting anyway. Good morning, Eva. Oh, lots of things just come in all at once. Good morning, Janet. Good morning, Eva. Good morning, Maria. Good morning, Maharet. Good morning, Dory. Good morning, Susan from a cloudy West Sussex. Yeah, we got a cloudy Hampshire here too. It is, well, you can see how unhappy Eric is about it. Just sitting there staring out the garden from under his sun shelter indoors. Yeah, I know, it's not right, is it? Good morning, Karen. Good morning, Luna. Good morning, Jay. Good morning, Jackie. I don't think I've missed anybody. Little Miss Nemo went out last night to water the garden. Little did I know. Yeah, I watered some of the pots yesterday and then all the heavens opened. Good morning, Willow Moon. Miss Nemo, just come back from taking daughter to school. I hate doing the school run and avoid it whenever possible. We were always all right because we can walk to the school. All of the schools actually there, children went to. So we only had to walk around the corner, so it wasn't too bad, but I know what you mean. I was the weird mum in the school playground. But hey, I'll take that. Good morning, Trudy. Sat in the garden with my toast and tea. Very nice. Sasha, used to be a Facebook crowd that kept freezing. Yeah, YouTube does seem to be more stable. I am on Wi-Fi this morning and because the Ethernet cable wouldn't work, so fingers crossed. Good morning, Kerry. Maria, what's that on your top? Oh, Breakfast Club. Breakfast Club. Bit of 80s. Good morning, Emma. Sunny South-on-Sea. We're on holiday because, oh, bless you. Oh, have a fantastic holiday, Emma. Good morning, Jane. Good morning, Xenia. So watching a bit to cheer myself up. Oh, I hope you feel better soon, Xenia. Eric, that was a really good idea. Yeah, you get a view of his butt at the moment. Good morning, Marianne. Good morning, Karen. Woof, woof, bark. Yeah, he's already done that this morning, Karen. You know, school is walking distance, just don't like all those parents clogging up the place. Okay, we get chaos in the school run with all the mums and dads, I guess, trying to drive their children to school. It's chaos. Yeah, try not to go out at that time. Good morning, Claire. Good morning, Claire. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Wednesday. Interesting subject today. Hopefully, good morning, Colin. Sunny here in Tenelli. Oh, send some their way. It's very grey and cloudy. We've already got the coffee this morning. Yeah. So, today is a little bit of a darker subject, maybe. And so, look at it. Today's subject is blood magic. I will carry on with the elements, but I'm going to intersperse them with other things. Good morning, Karen. Is that Eric's special little tent? It is. We've had to move inside because it rained last night, so, and it's not very warm out there. So, yeah, he's got a little tent. Bless him. Today's subject: blood magic. Might be a thing, might not be. So, if anyone works with blood magic, pop it in the comments. Let me know if you work with it. Let me know how you work with it, and we will share and see where we go with it. Yeah, he loves his shading thing. He was a bit wary about it first. Actually, it took a while to get him in, get him to get in it, but he does like it now. Angela, good morning. Currently sunny France. I had a torrential and spectacular thunderstorm yesterday. On and off most of the day, much needed. Yeah, we didn't have a storm, but we did have a lot of rain yesterday. It's quite wet out in the garden this morning. But hopefully it'll clear up. Hopefully. Okay. Good evening, Sephora. Eric's gone Arabian. Yes. Something's grabbed his attention. There's little mice that live, I think they live in next door shed, and they come over outside of the garden for the bird food. And he watches them, and when he sees them, he runs out in the garden barking. So I can't promise there won't be any garden barking. So anyway, blood magic. Do you work with it? If you do, how? But we'll go through it and see where it takes us. Colin, it's Wimbledon fortnight, so expect rain. Yeah. Hope not. We're going to Bath next week. Okay, no Wednesday chat next week. I'm sorry, but it's our 25th wedding anniversary, so we are we'll be in Bath. So no chat next week, but we're back the week after. James got to pick away through all the post-rain snails on the path to get something out of the garage. Hope I don't crush too many. Oh yeah, that's horrible. That is horrible. Yeah, Pete's in the office working. So let's have a look at blood magic. What is blood magic? Blood magic is working magic with your blood. They are at the end. All done, all sorted. It's interesting. I had an interesting conversation recently. Couple of interesting conversations actually recently with various people who very, very kindly said I was very nice to work with, which is lovely for events and festivals and conferences and things. And I'll, very humbled, thank you. I try not to be a diva. But then the conversations went onwards, and I was described as being a nice witch. And that I would never work with any of the darker side of the occult stuff. It's a front. I like that idea. People think I'm nice. I work with folk magic. I work with kitchen witchcraft, I work with hedge witchcraft, and I do work with the old-fashioned folk magic ways. So I do work with what would probably be considered the darker sides of magic, the occult. Just don't shout about it so much, I suppose. See, I told you, silly mouse or a pigeon or something. What do we consider the darker sides? Curses, hexes, bindings. We teach about that in the Kitchen Witch School. I've written about it in books. Blood magic. I've written about that as well, and I work with that. Bone magic. Written about that. Work with that too. It's funny, isn't it, how some things are seen as the darker side of magic, when really it is the person that is wielding them that makes it darker or lighter, depending on how you look at it. I've never seen myself as described as, Glenda the Good Witch. I like a bit of glitter, obviously, but interesting. So anyway, that's where and then someone suggested blood and bone magic for talks. So here's the first one on blood. So let's take it from there. Okay, let's get a few of these up. It might be a little bit slower because it is the Wi-Fi. There we go. Sasha, in terms of blood magic, I seem to give quite a few magical donations to hawthorns and roses while working in the garden. Yeah, me too. And for me, that is a sacrifice. It is a donation. It's usually roses in our garden that take the blood from you as an offering, as a donation. You're picking their flowers or rose hips or whatever it might be. So you have to give a bit of blood. Yeah, you tell Eric. He's so brave. Sasha, making magical items with a needle and thread and I accidentally stick my needle in my finger, probably often, and soak any blood into a piece of ribbon so I can use it in spells later. Good idea, good idea. Xenia, but we thought you were so nice. It's front. It's all a front. Fooled you all. Maria, or ironic it's called black as that colour often is used to repel negative energies. It is, isn't it? I guess that's as well. I don't, funny enough, I've got a grey t-shirt on today, but it's not often that I wear grey or black. Very, very rarely. I like colour. I like to wear colour magic. I like to wear colour. So perhaps that gives off the impression that I am getting to the good witch. Sephora. The only blood magic I know is blood and bone on the garden. It's good stuff. It is good stuff. But yeah, we put that on our garden too. We had a moment of fun and just said, not mine, Eric's. Just make that sure. Nice can be a very subjective description, I suppose. Yeah. No, you're right, Maria. Darker. Black is funny, isn't it? It's like the old cowboy films. Apparently, the good cowboys wore white hats and the bad cowboys wore black hats. And we do see it very much, don't we? As white and black, light and dark. Yeah, no, it is seen as darker. I don't know why. I grey, if anything. I understand both sides, but we've had that talk before. Angela, one can't be authentic if one ignores the darker side of oneself. It will often come and bite you in the bum if you do. Oh, yeah. Balance is the optimum, and that doesn't necessarily mean equal. No, it doesn't, and we've talked about that before. Balance is what works for you. It doesn't have to be equal balance. Hi, Bella. Ooh. Or Tony. It's all these hidden people hiding behind different names. Like the idea of the gardening sacrifice donation, it's poetic justice. Yeah, I quite often find that the rose thorns will take it. Emma, to be honest, I've never given blood magic any thought. It's just something never came to mind. I did once, many years ago, hear that an athame that's tasted blood is useless. Any thoughts? Well, I guess the athame is a ceremonial dagger. It doesn't have a sharp edge. It's not used for cutting. So I can see where that came from. But the athame is quite often used to dip into blood for ceremonial thoughts. So I would have to probably say not sure about that one. Everything's got up the screen. Maybe we can pumpkin. But yeah, we'll get here today. Sephora. Most people seem to travel over peaks and troughs, not many live on a straight line. No, and my spiritual journey itself has travelled all over the place. Not a straight line in sight. Colin, can be said to be blood magic if you donate blood? Well, it's a very worthy cause. Very worthy cause. Jane, every now and then I have to do some shadow work to keep things in balance. It doesn't happen often, but when it does, it's usually quite seismic. Yeah, on that one. Good morning, Gail. Sasha, I think blood is the most potent magical ingredient we possess. So powerful and personal. So let's have a look. So blood is life. It pulses through your veins, pumped by your heart to keep you alive. So the ingredient of blood is very powerful. It carries your personal energy. It carries life. It carries fertility. It is power. It's energy. And it's very personal too. So if you are working with your own blood in magic, it brings a really, really strong personal connection. If you're working with other people's blood, voluntarily given, then it will bring their energy to it. And by blood, I mean the blood that flows through our veins. But if you are a female that menstruates, you can use menstrual blood in the same way. That is very, very fertile energy. We'll get on to other bodily fluids in a bit, but we'll start with blood. It is powerful. It's incredibly powerful. Now, if you are going to take your own blood, pricking your finger is the easiest way to do it and the safest way to do it. I would suggest using one of the little gizmo Oogie flips that diabetics use to take a blood sample, because that is the safest and easiest way to do it. Use the whole health and hygiene things, clean the area, sanitize the area, whatever the word is. God, my brain's gone this morning. And make sure that you follow all the regular protocols. If you are working with other people's blood, be safe with it. Yeah, none of this Klingon blood pat where you slash each other's hands and put the hands blood together, because that ain't safe. If you do work with blood, just be mindful, just be sensible with it. But just a pinprick from your finger is all you need to do. Just be mindful of the health and safety of it. Sasha. Right, I like a quote I heard about menstrual bleeding. We bleed for days and days every month, yet we do not die. How are we not magical? It's a very good point. Yeah, it's slightly different, isn't it? It's not coming from their veins, but yeah, that makes sense. Interesting. Okay, so yeah, women do have a magical boost with menstruation, but bear in mind that men have bodily fluids that carry magic too. So you don't need to have a womb to be a witch. Absolutely, we do not. Men have their donations that carry their own magical energy as well. So we've all got stuff to give. That's very true, isn't it? Blood is primitive. Blood is primitive. It is primordial. It really is. It's a force, a life force. Yeah, very magical. Very magical. Oh, Maria just going in, Milo, that's the cat. Usually works. Yeah. For some women, it connects them to their own power. Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping that all the menstrual stuff is over now. And I'm very relieved. But it does bring a certain magical power. But no, it's not a magical experience for some of them. Those that have had terrible period experiences, those of us that have been through the perimenopause and the menopause, no, it's icky. But it is a life force. It is magical. Colin, yes. Native American used to have blood brothers where they cut their hands and joined them. Same as the Klingons. It's not safe. It isn't safe, and I wouldn't advise anybody to do that. You've got to be sensible about it. Before a pagan, my cat regularly takes my blood. My favourite torment is talon on the nose at 4 a.m. if one does not respond. Well, how rude is that? You should be responding at 4 a.m. Little Miss Nemo, men bodily fluids, true. Love the euphemistic donations, yeah. I am a bad pagan, don't use the right words. It's only 9:20 in the morning, let's keep it straightforward. Lee, I might be very echoey today. I'm not on the proper microphone, I'm only on the webcam, so I apologise for that. Hi Karen. Sasha, I also feel that my blood is part of my connection to my ancestors. Yes, absolutely, because your blood carries the DNA. So it carries the DNA of your ancestors as well. Emma, they are. Blood glucose machines, finger prickers are good ways to take blood. Yes, if you can get hold of one of those for diabetes, they are the best way to take blood for magical purpose. Oh, Tony's not allowed YouTube. I don't want to know why you're not allowed it, because there's a backstory there somewhere, isn't there? Sasha, considering I barely ever work with blood in my practice, I seem to be quite gobby about this. No, the more insight, the more thoughts, the more comments, the better. Sephora, yes. Donations. Men's donations. Well, women's donations as well. We will get onto that in a second, but we'll cover blood first. what do you use blood magic for? So it brings that life force, it brings that power, it brings that very, very personal connection. You can mix a couple of drops of blood with essential oil. You can dress your candle with it if you're working with candle magic. You can use it to charge a talisman or an amulet. Just put a dab of it on whatever talisman or amulet you're creating. If you are working with witch bottles or jars, you can put a couple of drops of blood magic in there. If you're writing a petition, you can put a dab of blood onto the petition paper. If you're working with a spell bag or sachet powder, then you can put a drop in there. If you're making an incense blend, you can put a drop in there as well. There's so many different ways of adding your blood to any magic that you work with, any of those spells, in any of those kinds of ways, you can add it. If you are working a spell for yourself, it will bring that very personal connection. If you're working a spell for whatever it might be, your blood will give it that life force punch of power. If you are working with menstrual blood, then it will bring a big punch of fertility. If you work with runes, runes are traditionally, the actual symbols are written in red, which would have been blood originally, because it carries that power with it. I am not suggesting you make a set of runes and use blood to draw the symbols. You'd need quite a lot of blood for that. But I have heard of women dabbing their runes or their any kind of divination tool with menstrual blood or their own blood to bring that personal connection. So it does that as well. It is a power, and it can be used in any type of magic, really. You just need to think about it, Oh, what can I add that to? But be mindful that it will tie you and your personal energy to that spell working. So make sure that it's not a spell for someone else. If you've got someone that wants you to work a spell for them, or if you are working for couples, you can bring a bit of hoodoo in here. Menstrual blood is used in hoodoo, added to someone's coffee to tie them to you. Just going to have my coffee now. It is used, actually quite a few different bodily fluids are used in beverages in hoodoo to bind you to that person, to keep that person faithful to you. Be mindful. If you are doing that, you are working with someone else's free will. It must be your choice, and you must take responsibility for it. Personally, I would rather know that the person is with me because they want to be with me, not because I have bound them to me. But it must be your choice. You can use other things as well, but I think blood does carry that life force, so it does make it incredibly magical. Let's go back up to some of these. Blood connection to ancestors. Yeah, DNA memory, definitely. Yeah, Maria, how do you work with it? Well, all of those things are said. Mix it with your essential oil, dab it onto amulets, talismans, petitions, add it to jars, sachets, whatever it is you're working with. You can just add a drop of blood to it. You could use it for cutting cord magic. You could put a dab on the cord, absolutely. Sephora, is dragon's blood incense suitable? Dragon's blood is from the resin from a tree, and it's brilliant for working dragon magic. It's brilliant for protection. It's brilliant for power and energy. It is different. It's not your blood. There are substitutes, for want of a better word, to your own blood, but nothing is going to bring that life force that your own blood does. So dragon's blood is a different thing. Jane, blood can be seen as a messenger since it's used to test for lots of conditions. Yes, I can see that, absolutely. Yeah, that works. That does work. Angela, no, some of us try to avoid it, but Amazon do packs of the finger prickers and packets of alcohol wipes for sterilising the skin beforehand. Not all pharmacies will sell them to non-diabetics. Yeah, you'll have to look around a bit to find it, but it is the best. It is the best way to take it. I think that blood would be most suited to protection of family members. So if you are making a witch bottle to bring protection to your household, then you could get everyone within the family, within the house, to put a drop of blood into the witch bottle. That would work very well. Yeah, but it has to be there, they have to be happy to do it. It is, menstrual blood is also used. It has a slightly different energy to it because it is not blood that runs through your veins, but it is fertile. Menstrual blood brings a huge punch of fertility energy with it. So the two, for me, work slightly differently. Okay, for example, using my own blood to protect my child. Yes, absolutely, you could do that. Jane, if you're diabetic and making a set of runes, carve each rune, and every time you prick your finger, rub the excess blood over the rune to fill it in. Yes, after 3 weeks, you'll have a set of blood runes. Brilliant idea. Perfect. Even though my daughter was born by surrogate, would that still work? Yes, I would think so. Yeah, absolutely. It does. Gives blood, sweat, and tears a whole new meaning. Now, there's some things. So, if you don't want to use blood, and actually, there are, think about it, make fingernail clippings, hair, various other bodily fluids, sweat, spit, or any tears. Yeah, absolutely. They're all fluids that come from your body. They all carry a slightly different energy. So your sweat would carry, for me, a different energy to your blood, but they are very personal. So if you want to work a spell and put your energy into it, tie it to you, then any of those things can be used. I think the blood for me carries a slightly different energy. It's got that life force energy to it. But if you are making a poppet for yourself or for someone to put a piece of their hair in it, or fingernail clippings, or a dab of their blood, or sweat, spit, it ties it to that person and it makes a very, very strong personal connection. So yeah, you can use all different sorts of bodily fluids. Sasha, thinking about whether pharmacies would have restrictions. Amazon do them, so yeah, good old Amazon. Sephora, I think looking at your bloodline ancestry is fascinating. It is. My husband has worked with metal all his life, and his ancestors make nails and handles in the Black Country. Well, there you go. There you go. Yeah, the family would just go near Milo. It's very handy. Blood from all family members in the house. Yeah, I mean, if you're making a witch bottle protection for the house, it is, not everyone wants to give a donation of blood for your purpose. A hair from everyone's head works just as well. Nail clippings from each person work just as well for that kind of purpose. Blood runes. Traditionally, as I understand it, the runes, the letters, shapes, figures, whatever you want to call them, symbols, were painted in blood because it brings that whole power energy again to it. So yeah, men's blood is being used as a plant fertilizer too. It carries minerals that are good for plants. But say I put blood and bone on the garden, as was mentioned earlier. It's good stuff. Jane, all body parts and fluids contain our DNA, which is uniquely us, so it's all good. Do you think our fingerprints could be used in magic? Oh, I like that, Jane. You bring such good ideas. Fingerprints. What a brilliant idea. Yes, absolutely. Because all of their fingerprints are unique and individual to us, aren't they? Oh, that would work brilliantly, wouldn't it? A fingerprint on a petition, or a fingerprint on a piece of clay, or fingerprints on the back of your rooms if you make them. Oh yeah, you've set off a whole thing there, Jane. Absolutely. Britain can steal that idea. Makes a note. Yeah, fingerprints would work absolutely brilliantly. Fantastic idea. Emma, would it work for someone with a blood disorder? I haven't got one, but it's something that just came to mind. Obviously, if you have one of those blood disorders where you bleed and you can't stop bleeding, don't do it. This is about being sensible and careful with it. Bear in mind health and safety. and all of the sensible stuff. Let's not get silly with this. A blood disorder doesn't affect the power of your blood if you are using it in blood magic for you. But there are other options. There are other options. I hope fingerprints is brilliant. Jane, you're a genius. But you can, say, work with all different other sorts of things as well. Now, one thing that I think of with blood magic that I have worked with quite often, tattoos. Tattoos are blood magic. All of my tattoos speak of my spiritual journey, apart from where I've got the children's names on my arm. All of mine are part of my spiritual journey. They represent different periods in my own journey. They represent different things that are important to me. I have a dragon, I have Merlin, I have a couple of moon goddesses, I have the Kalak, I have my wild boar, I have bees, pumpkins, triple goddess, all sorts of stuff. And each of them brings a magical part of my spiritual journey. Some of them have been done in a traditional tattoo studio. Others have been done as ritual tattoos by the very lovely Susie Edwards-Goose, the Ink Witch. And part of what she does is ritual tattooing. Now, my bees were done in a ritual tattoo. That was to help me get through the menopause. My little Kalak, who's upside down there, she is ritual tattooed. Right, I'm going to hit my crossed broomsticks to represent those that were persecuted before us. My wild boar, I've got a sun goddess as well, all done as ritual tattoos. So part of it is, particularly when we had the cross broomsticks done, we all chanted, we all sang, we all put our energy into it. It's done with a ritual perspective to it. But what Susie does is gives you your tattoo needle afterwards. So that's got an incredibly strong connection. Very, very strong connection to me personally, my energy, because it's got my blood on it. It's also very personal because it is part of the ritual tattoo process that we went through. So if you can get your tattoo artist to give you the tattoo needle afterwards, it's brilliant to use in any kind of magic. I use it to carve candles when I'm working magic for myself because it brings my energy via the tattoo needle, which has been in my blood, onto the candle. So I don't need to prick my finger for that because the tattoo needle already carries the blood. So if you can do that and get hold of that after your tattoo, they are really brilliant to work with. And they're excellent for carving candles in particular. Jane, no, this sounds yucky, but could be on a separate channel magic if you're right. Now that is we can cover that today because it is very similar. It carries that same personal energy. In hoodoo, it's called chamber lie, which I think is a much better word. Chamber because of the chamber pots we used to put under the bed. Lie because I think it's the smell. Let me have a look. I have got some notes today. I wrote them down. Lye. Okay, lie's an old Anglo-Saxon word, and it means a strong liquid with a high alkaline content. So that's chamber lye. I quite like that term. It's often used for luck, particularly feminine urine is used for luck. It brings luck. Fast luck, so quick money, card games, gambling, anything like that. They add the chamber lie to a mojo bag for luck. It is used quite a lot. It is used in war bottles as well. And if you'll find particularly in Witchcraft Museum in Boscastle, we've got quite a few examples. Any witch bottles that are found in old houses, often buried in the walls, often above the chimney, they were put there to protect against witches, and they nearly always had chamber lie in them because it brings that personal energy. But I think people thought it was protective. You pee on something, so you are marking your boundaries, you are marking your territory. and it has that energy of getting rid of things. It's got that whole kind of protective energy to it. So you'll find a lot of the old witch bottles will have that in it. So I think it does bring that protective, getting rid of negative stuff kind of energy, because you're getting rid of waste for a start, aren't you? So that kind of works for me. Sweat is another one that I mentioned earlier. If you can get a hold of sweat, not quite so easy. Wipe with a tissue for your arms, probably the easiest. And that brings a different sort of energy as well. That is sweat and tears. It is, I think, again, protective, because it is, you're getting rid of something that you no longer need. So it's releasing as well. But it still brings that big, strong energy with it as well. I think it's about thinking about these things and what it means to you, thinking about what they symbolize to you. If I use blood in a witch bottle that is buried near the front door, if we move, should I dig it up and take it with us? Just wondering if it would tie me to the old house. I would. Yeah, I would. I would dig it up, because you're leaving. That's very personal to you. But you have, it's what works for you. You've got to decide whether that feels right or wrong to do. Listening, and it harm even oneself. Okay, so yeah, we do step into ethics here, particularly if you are using your body fluids to bind yourself to another person. You very much go against free will here. You are. I'm thinking of the Practical Magic film where the aunts get the customer that wants to. She wants someone to fall in love with her, but he's already got a wife. So they take a dove and they kill the bird, and they're using the blood of the bird to tie that person to the woman. But they give her a warning right before they do anything to make sure she wants to do it, because you are tying someone else to you against their will. I've had people come to me and say, I was in a relationship, we did a binding spell to bind ourselves together, both willingly, but then one partner goes off and the other partner is left, and they can't get or start a new relationship. They can't last in a new relationship because a part of them is still bound to that other person. So you have to go through quite a complicated process to release that. So if you are going to work with that kind of magic, bear in mind, I don't follow necessarily the rule of three. I'm not Wiccan. I don't necessarily follow the read. I think it is a very good guideline, but I think you have to trust your own morals, your own standards, your own way of thinking. You've got to take responsibility for what you put out there. Whatever spell it is, even if it's a healing spell or a good luck spell, you've got to take responsibility, because when you work magic, you are manipulating energy and it is going to affect someone. So you need to take responsibility for whatever you put out there. So just bear that in mind when you are working with that kind of magic. Debbie, archaeologists have found pots with the potter's fingerprints on. Real connection to the past. Yes, fascinating, isn't it? It is fascinating. Karen, before my crone-ship, I used to share some of my menstrual blood with the earth every month within my earth healing circle in the garden. Lots of ladies do that. Lots of women seem to do that. It is a very strong connection to fertility and to your fertility. So sharing it with the earth every month, it encourages your garden to grow and your plants to go. And it does give you that strong connection to Mother Earth. The crossed broomsticks. Yes, these little, you might see a few people with all of us kitchen witch. Pussy have got it. They're done by Susie. It is to, one broomstick represents me, the other broomstick represents one of the sisters that were persecuted. It is, yeah, definitely a bit emotional. I love the idea of ritual tattoo and this blood magic. Never thought of it that way before. It is, particularly if you do have a ritual tattoo rather than just a standard tattoo, because it does involve, all of my ritual tattoos have been involved all of the Kitchen Witch team as well. We've all been there, we've chanted, we've held space for each other, and each tattoo has been about my spiritual pathway. It's very magical. Urine has household uses, or had, not so much now. Yes. Well, tanning leather was done with it, wasn't it? It was apparently quite useful. Not sure if I want to deal with it now, really. Jane, urine could be used for banishing negativity, seeing as it banishes toxins from our bodies. Yeah, it's about thinking how this stuff works and what it does, what its purpose is, and then making it work for you in magic. So yes, that's perfect. Sephora, last summer I put the garden fork through my foot. Oh, it was weird as I was quite fascinated by the blood and not panicked at all. Is there a ritual to do that after an oopsie, which aids in healing? The first thing is to seek medical help, obviously. But there are lots of rituals for physical healing. Yeah, absolutely. Lots of ways to work with healing afterwards. There's a few things on the blog for that, Sephora. When I was doing fast jumps in my ballet class, well, obviously, must have been. It's the actual liquid that's the lucky stuff. Jane just remembered seeing the glass expert chap on Antiques Roadshow sampling the contents of the witch bottle. Just can't unsee it. Ew, why would you do that? Why? Why would you do that? Most of the ones that I am aware of had nasty things in them. Yes, Jane. Safest ritual is to go to hospital. Yes, absolutely. Just remembered Miss Avalon when Morgane is making scabbard for Excalibur. She pricks her finger accidentally but uses its magic. Yes, absolutely. It's a sacrifice too, isn't it? If you do, you're giving your blood, so you are sacrificing your blood. Probably should mention the whole animal blood thing here. I don't use animal blood in magic because you have to take an animal's life to do it. If you are going to use animal blood, you can ask the butcher for it. They will quite often give you. Probably don't tell him what you want it for. Just tell him you want to make, blood sausage or something. But you can use it. Actually, thinking about it, Eric has raw food. Quite often there is blood in the bottom of that. You could use that, but you need to know exactly what animal and where it came from and the origins of it. That is quite important, I think. Now, there are some practices, and I'm thinking voodoo, I'm thinking Santeria, where they will sacrifice, usually a cockerel. It's done with purpose. It's done for their spiritual and magical beliefs. And as far as I am aware, I'm not an expert, they do sacrifice the chicken, but they use the blood in the magic, but they use the whole of the bird afterwards as well. And I think this kind of goes across. I am a meat eater, and if you are, be mindful. Be mindful that an animal has given its life. Be mindful to use all of it and don't waste it. So if you have got a roast chicken, eat the chicken, save the bones. Make a stock with them, then save the bones. They can be used for all kinds of magical purpose. I'll do another chat on bone magic because that's a fascinating subject as well. But yeah, for animal blood, I think working with animal blood is a whole other practice that you have to be particularly mindful of. So what I'm working with today with blood magic is really your sacrifices, your blood. But yes, it has Take a Lime, the Coconut, Practical Magic, such a good film. Such a good film. What is our waste is needed by plants and trees, fertilizer, photosynthesis, perfect cycle of life. Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Peeing on your compost heap apparently is a good thing. I've not done it, but apparently it's a good thing. Making black pudding. Yeah, go to the butcher and tell him you're making black pudding, and he'll give you some animal blood. Urine had lots of uses. Used to set dye in wool. Yeah. Lots of people mentioning black pudding. Yes, it has pig's blood in it, so absolutely. Lee, hate food waste. Me too. of any kind, so this is right to me. I'm not into blood math myself as yet. It has to be a personal choice. It has to feel right for you. It's not for everyone. And there are other options, obviously. If you don't want to use your own blood in something to bring your personal connection, piece of hair. It is a different energy, but it is still part of you. Fingernail clippings. You know, there are other options. Spit. Spit was used in a load of folk magic for cursing and all sorts. So that, but again, it's a personal donation from your body. So yeah, it's an interesting subject to work with. It is. Just have a think about it. But yeah, if you are going to eat meat, do be mindful of where the animal came from, how it was treated, and be very, very mindful that we use everything. It's just a way of honouring the animal if you're going to do it. Last time I used readers in a hex bottle, got a person sitting in a jar of pea and vinegar. It was very yes. Now that's hoodoo. That's folk magic. That is absolutely. And I've talked about it with the dog poo bags before as well. When I work with household magic, there's think about dog poo bags, going slightly off at a tangent. What do you put in a dog poo bag? Dog poop. So it works very well if you want to hex or curse someone by writing their name on it, putting it in the bag. Same principle. But again, you are going against someone's free will. You have to take responsibility for what you put out there. It's your call. It is absolutely your call. Whatever you're putting out there, take responsibility for it. Back to men briefly. An old boyfriend told me that apparently the donation fluid is good for the skin. Yeah, I've heard that one. Emma, thank the animal that I'm about to eat. Yes, for its sacrifice so that I can eat it. It makes sense to me. Yeah, it is about being mindful of these things, isn't it? And best for men to pee on the compost heap. It's quite an old folk thing, apparently. Beneficial compound that helps to in the decomposition process. Yeah. Jane, when my son was 13, he had a sleepover party, and when his pals all needed blue at the same time, I told him to go pee in the leaf bin. Brilliant! Oh yeah, teenage boys would love that. These boys are quite gross, really, aren't they? I would love to eat any organic meat from happy animals. Oh, but it is yes, it is expensive. Anyone wishing to live and eat ethically is over a barrel. So this is about being a bit mindful. There are options. Yes, I can't afford organic meat either. You can't if you're trying to feed a family. But it is just being a little bit mindful to use everything. I won't buy anything other than free range eggs. It's just a thing. But I do try and buy the farm assured meat. And if I can't afford it, then we have more vegetables. It's not so much now, but in the days when I had all the children at home and we were doing that, you have to just be a little bit mindful of it, about using everything. Like I say, if you have a piece of meat, make sure it all gets used. Don't waste the fact that animal gave its life. You've got to do what works within your budget, absolutely. Sephora, being spat at is one of the biggest insults where I grew up, curse or not. There seems to be a fashion now, I think the footballers seem to do it, where they just spit. People do it walking along, people actually, I've got to say, mostly men, it's very a generalisation, but it does seem to be just spit on the pavement. Don't do it, it's gross. You have absolutely no need to do it whatsoever. But yes, it has been long used as a curse. But it is your energy. So if you wanted to put your energy into a spell, then you could use that as well. Giving thanks for the meat is, absolutely. It is just a nice thing to do. I don't know that story. Small boys and pea reminds me of my nephews testing out electric fence. Karen, my granddad used to use his urine from his gazunder because it goes under the bed. That was some potty chamber pots to put his chrysanthemums, and they were huge. Yeah, again, we're back to folklore here. We're back to things that our grandparents and great grandparents and beyond did. Yeah, I do, Maria. I think spitting on the pavement is just gross. Gobbing. That's an old school word. It is, Zinnia. Spitting is seen as powerful because it is an insult. Yeah, absolutely. Spitting is gross. It is absolutely. Listening there. In films about World War II, when there's a collaborator, usually a woman, yeah, she gets spat at. Yeah, it is. It is an insult. To be spat at is an insult. It's a hex. It's a curse. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, my brother used to pee in my mum's bleeding heart plant as a teenager. It killed it. Yeah, I think peeing on the compost heap is one thing. Actually, peeing on the plants is not good. Claire, whenever I eat, I hold my hand over the food and say to the plants and animals who sacrifice so that I may eat, deep gratitude. This food is sacred, may it nourish me. That is beautiful. We should all be doing that, shouldn't we? That, yes, absolutely. Remember, before factory farming, meat was very expensive. You got some Sunday dinner, it would last the whole week. Oh, my mum, yeah, I remember my mum when we were younger. You would have the roast beef on the Sunday, and then you would have cold beef and jacket potatoes on the Monday, and then on the Tuesday you would have rissoles, which are made with the leftover meat. Yeah, it used to last at least 3 days, and we should be doing that. We should be doing more of that. With the amount of food waste that we have in this country, and probably a lot of countries, is horrendous. Yeah, the animal has sacrificed. Make the most of it. Make it worthwhile. Maria, some religious beliefs are they're not allowed saliva to build up, so they spit wherever, whoever. I don't care, it's gross. Yeah, no, there is no excuse for it, I don't care. Jane, if you get spat on, keep it in a tissue and use it to magically reprimand the perpetrator. It's got their DNA in it after all. Yeah. No one in their right mind would spit at a witch, would they? I mean, that's just stupid. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Rissoles. Yeah, my mum used to make rissoles. Colin, blessing that I was taught, may we eat and never hunger, may we drink and never thirst. It is what we say in ritual as well. In the middle of a ritual, when we feast, we offer some to the ground, to deity, to whoever we're working with, and the cup goes round the circle, and the food goes round the circle. May you never thirst, may you never hunger. It is. It's a nice thing to do to do a blessing before you eat. Absolutely. Yeah, never pee off a witch. Yeah, it's not wise. There is another thing that I work a lot with hoodoo. To give it a name, hoodoo is a magical practice. It does have a very strong connection to African magic, Santeria, that kind of thing. But a huge amount of hoodoo was influenced by European folk magic. When I first looked into hoodoo, I realised I was already working with it from the folk magic. So there's a pigeon keeps sitting on the fence with lots of twigs in its mouth, keeps distracting me. It was influenced a lot by European folk magic. A lot of the things that I realised that were done in hoodoo, I was doing as European folk magic, traditional folk magic. So there was quite a crossover there. But a lot of that involves bodily fluids of various sorts. But it is old ways, and it is the spitting as a curse. It is using bodily fluids to bring a personal connection. It's a fascinating thing to look at, and it does go way, way back. And it does bring that personal energy into it. But there is perhaps these days we are more wary about the consequences of it. Hoodoo practitioners, root workers, they don't deal with karma. They don't deal with threefold law. They do what they believe is right. and take responsibility for it. So we have to do the same, really. So whatever kind of magic you work, you have to do the same. I have worked bindings. So I have protected my children from bullying. I have protected myself from toxic people. Would I curse and hex? I don't generally feel the need for it. I tend to find that if I put it out to deity, to the divine, to the universe, they tend to deal with it anyway. You have to take responsibility for that. But yeah, never wise to pee off a witch, really. Oh, cold meat sandwich, and then they usually shepherd's pie, cottage pie, shepherd's pie. Favourites, definite favourites. Emma, when I call upon my ancestors, I always start with blood of my blood that throws through my veins, death took you from, but your essence remains. Brilliant, brilliant. I was once told by another witch that you used to pee on growing herbs to use in curses. That makes sense. Yeah, I think I just used the dry stuff and give it bad vibes. That's a whole different level of bad energy, and probably not very good for the herbs either. But it makes sense, doesn't it? This is how folk magic evolved. This is how folk used to work with stuff. This is how the magic kind of got its beginnings, by people thinking, actually, yeah, that makes sense. If I pee on that, that's going to give it some real negative juju. Absolutely. Jane, with steak and guinea pudding on Saturday. Yum. Rest of the joint roasted on Sunday, cold meat, chips and salad on Monday, cottage pie on Tuesday. Then Mum only had to think of 3 dinners for the rest of the week. People used to make food go further. It makes sense. Jackie still do that. Sunday roast lasts for 4 days. 2 roast dinners and a casserole of pie from 3 of us with lots of vegetables. Yeah. And that, to me, that is just sense. Makes sense. Really about meat here in Switzerland is too expensive to waste. It is anywhere. The animal welfare is incredibly high, so it's worth it. Yeah, during lockdown, I found a company in Devon that send meat boxes. It's all frozen, ready for you to put straight in the freezer, but it's all from local farms to them who have very high animal welfare standards. It is comparable to supermarket prices, and I've kept with them. So yeah, it's just being a little bit about being mindful. Sasha, I get very confused about which bits of African magic practice are closed or open. From what they're saying, hoodoo is an open practice. Hoodoo is a magical practice. So the religions are voodoo, Santeria, that kind of thing. The actual practice, magical practice of hoodoo is open, but it is very much based on folk magic, and it's drawn from various different places, and it has a huge amount of European influence to it. And you'll probably find that things like witch bottles that you work with now are found in all sorts of practices. Witch bottles have been used in England for centuries. We find the old ones buried in old houses that are hundreds of years old. So there are a lot of practices that lots of cultures do. I think because it makes sense. You want to make a protective thing to bury in your house, so you get a bottle and you put stuff in it and bury it in the wall. That just makes sense. But there are lots, hoodoo is the magical practice. It's the religions that tend to be a little bit more closed, depending on where you are, what you're doing. We had Sunday dinner as early as 11 a.m. because of my dad. So often my mum would either make us meat and potato sandwich, yum, or cut up the meat for later for us to eat however we wanted. Family traditions, isn't it? Claire, a lot of chicken blood used in Santeria, yeah, and voodoo. You often a black cockle, as far as I'm aware. But as far as I'm aware, they use the entire animal. It's not just the blood. Yes. Now I would say undiluted urine would scorch the plants. Yes, I would put it on your compost heap rather than on the plant. Sephora. Studies concluded in Sweden showed that an adult's urine is a lovely topic, isn't it? It contains enough nutrients to fertilise 50 to 100% of the crops needed to feed one adult. That makes your head explode, doesn't it? Colin, one of my favourites, Bubble and Squeak. Yes, yeah. Every Yule and Christmas I do an organic meat order. It's got to be within your budget. I think there's so much pressure for everyone to be eco-friendly, to be organic, to be mindful of the planet. And it is brilliant. We do need to look after this planet. We are an infestation on Mother Earth, and we have treated her very, very badly. But if we all did a little bit, then it helps. Not everyone can afford, me included, to go completely eco-friendly, to go completely organic. You have to work within your budget, but just do your own little bit. If we all just put stuff in the recycling, if you all just do that, being mindful of stuff, it all helps. Every little bit helps, as they say. Family treat. Karen used to make soup with veg and brisket, rice and pasta. Then I'd roast the brisket and have a roast dinner next day. Soup and brisket. Yeah, it's something we used to do, which we need to bring back in, isn't it? Yes. Sephora, going to confuse the hell out of our builders when we do any renovations from here on in. Yeah, finding witch bottles and random things buried in the walls. Yeah, Eva, I'm hungry now. Yeah. Oh, Jane, you can always tell where people have got caught short because there's lots of metals. And the meat is expensive here and we're no longer enjoying it anyway, so we stopped eating it 5 or 6 years ago. Have our own chicken, so don't buy eggs either. No dairy for me, as I'm allergic. It is about doing what's right for you and what's right for your budget. We each do our own bit. It's one of those things. If we can all do a little bit, it all helps. They used to put night soil, they did, in cities. It was collected, wasn't it, so that they could use it for tanning industries and things. It was very useful. So that's fluids of all kinds. I think it is whether you feel comfortable doing it. I think you have to be mindful of health and safety when you are working with the blood magic as well. But it carries a really, really strong energy, and it can work very well. Emma, get Riverford Zero Waste Bed Box every 2 weeks, and I get some. Yeah, I've had Riverford for years. I haven't had it recently because we found a local supermarket to us that does fantastic fruit and veg, cheaper than Riverford, unfortunately. But Riverford are excellent. Colin makes a big pot of soup. Does last for days, doesn't it? I think blood magic isn't for everyone. Have a think about it. If that idea doesn't work for you, have a think about the other personal things. Your hair, your nail clippings, your sweat, your spit, whatever it might be. Any other fluids that you donate. And think about how you could use them. But remember that they have a very, very strong personal energy. But whatever magic you put out there, take responsibility for it because it is going to affect someone. Even if you're just working a little prosperity spell, it is going to cause ripples in the field of energy and someone will be affected by it. So be responsible, really. But yeah, blood magic, interesting subject. Have a think about it. If you have any other thoughts afterwards, pop them in the comments. It'd be interesting to see. Blood, pee, whatever you use and how you use it. Thank you everyone for today. Just a reminder, there will not be a talk next week. There are lots and lots of previous ones on YouTube. And it's up. There are lots and lots on YouTube replays if you want to catch up next week, but not one next week, but I will be back the week afterwards. So thank you everyone for a fascinating talk. Thank you for all your input as always and your support. Take care everyone and have a fantastic week.